yourself off and try again.
The world was shocked when Aaliyah died in a plane crash, but the details about her final moments were even more disturbing. The story of Aaliyah is truly heartbreaking. At 22, she had achieved the kind of success most people only dream of. What big things could she have achieved if she had lived longer? Aaliyah loved her name, which has roots in the Arabic word Ali. The singer also connected it to the Hebrew word Aliyah, which means highest, most exalted one, the best. When she began her career in showbiz, her mom suggested she go by her first name, and she was all in. Most people don't even know her full name was Aaliyah Dana Houghton. Born in 1979, Aaliyah was the youngest of two siblings. Growing up, she was always close to her older brother Rashad. Her parents, Diane and Miguel Houghton, decided to move the family from Brooklyn, New York City, to Detroit when Aaliyah turned 5. Aaliyah's family moved to Detroit to be closer to her extended family. Her uncle, Barry Hankerson, who was an entertainment lawyer, and his wife, singer Gladys Knight. Eventually, Aaliyah got the opportunity to go on stage with Gladys Knight. The exposure and support really helped her believe in her musical talents. Soon, it became clear that Aaliyah was talented. Her brother Rashad recalls that she always had a beautiful voice and enjoyed performing whenever she could. While Aaliyah's whole family was amazingly supportive of her and her talent, her grandmother was her biggest supporter. Later, she would become an inspiration for Aaliyah through some of her darkest times. Aaliyah found her calling young, in grade 1 to be precise. Her Catholic school cast her in their annual musical Annie, and there was no looking back after that. Little Aaliyah knew she wanted to be an entertainer. Being Gladys Knight's niece was definitely a plus when it came to getting her foot inside the showbiz door. Aaliyah traveled with her and auditioned for commercials and Family Matters. Her first real appearance on TV was on Star Search when she was 10, but it led to a devastating moment. She lost that day, but she also made a powerful impression. Host Ed McMahon said he saw the fire in Aaliyah when she came on stage. Aaliyah was determined to get into the Detroit High School for Fine and Performing Arts. For her audition, she decided to sing Ave Maria in Italian, which she absolutely nailed and was immediately accepted to the school. Aaliyah kept up a 4.0 GPA throughout high school, even though she'd already started working and recording by then. She wanted to get a proper education in case she didn't make it in show business. Her alternate plans included teaching music history or drama so she could still do something she loved. When Aaliyah was starting out, her mother suggested she wear her hair over her left eye, inspired by her favorite film star, Veronica Lake. They felt it would add to the mystique of her image. Aaliyah also often wore sunglasses, largely because she was naturally shy and sometimes felt overwhelmed by the media attention. However, this signature look eventually gave rise to an unusual rumor. Some people speculated that she was hiding a glass eye beneath her sunglasses and hairstyles. Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson, was having a tough time finding a label that would sign his niece. He believed in her and was so supportive that he decided to make sure that his young niece got the exposure she deserved. So he came up with an idea. He started his own label, Blackground Records. Then he signed Aaliyah. Together they launched her first album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, in 1994, when she was just 15. The album was a hit, but the whole experience became an ordeal for the young singer. It took Aaliyah 8 to 10 months to finish recording Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Controversial R&B singer R. Kelly agreed to be lead songwriter and producer after he heard her sing. Hankerson thought he'd hit a bullseye when Kelly seemed so taken by the talented teenager. Unfortunately, he didn't realize exactly what he was getting his niece into. Kelly spent a lot of time with Aaliyah, trying to figure out what kind of songs would match her personality and musical style. She said they'd often go bowling or to the arcade and vibe off one another. Kelly also made her practice singing until he felt her performance was satisfactory. She admitted looking up to him and being close, but there was a dark side to the relationship. Sadly, their professional relationship had devastating consequences. R. Kelly took advantage of Aaliyah's trust in the most shocking way. Years later, rumors swirled that Aaliyah was married to R. Kelly, but she fervently denied them. She didn't talk about Kelly at all, and said people had the wrong idea just because they'd been so close while she was young. For his part, Kelly said the same thing. He acknowledged loving her, but as a best friend. However, there was one thing they didn't count on. Journalists from Vibe magazine tracked down their marriage certificate and published it. According to Damon Dash, Aaliyah's boyfriend at the time of her passing, all she wanted was to forget that the disturbing relationship with R. Kelly had ever happened. It was only after her passing that the devastating truth came out. Once she told her parents what had happened, they helped her annul the marriage. Following the annulment, Aaliyah wanted nothing more to do with R. Kelly. Unfortunately, this may not even be the worst part. According to Dash, if Kelly had been held accountable for his actions at the time, all the other young women he had allegedly been involved with afterward may have been spared. Aaliyah's cousin, Jomo Hankerson, said that the media had unfairly villainized her after the R. Kelly situation, making it hard to find producers for her second album. She left Jive Records and signed with Atlantic Records, hoping for a fresh start. While she had some worries about how this new album would turn out, it seemed like the stars were finally aligning in her favor. Regardless of what was happening behind the scenes, Aaliyah's vocals got great reviews from critics and listeners alike. People loved her warm, silky voice, and music editors from RPM magazine even pronounced that Aaliyah would follow in the footsteps of Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and Toni Braxton. She was destined to be a diva. Aaliyah received nominations for several awards, and some of her tracks went on to become big hits. Two of the main producers on Aaliyah's second album, One in a Million, were Timbaland and Missy Elliott. Since they were both just starting out, they were nervous about how much of a diva Aaliyah might be, considering she already had a successful debut album to her name. But Aaliyah won them over with her natural warmth and friendliness. Their sound and songs really worked for her, and One in a Million became a huge hit. Aaliyah had always wanted to be an entertainer, which meant she wanted to try her hand at everything. She was working with acclaimed acting coach Harold Guskin when Joel Silver offered her the role of Trish O'Day in Romeo Must Die, a modern martial arts-focused adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. Of course, she accepted the part. Aaliyah was a movie producer's dream. Between her acting chops and her singing skills, she was the total package. She had an executive producer role on the Romeo Must Die soundtrack and contributed 4 songs to it. The most popular was Try Again, which won Best Female Video and Best Video from a Film at the 2000 MTV Movie Awards.
What would you do to get to me? What would you say to have your way? Would you give up or try again?
She also received a Grammy nomination, though she didn't win. Like everything else, Aaliyah put her heart and soul in acting. It was no wonder then that she started getting offers for starring roles. There was one she just couldn't turn down. After the success of Romeo Must Die, Aaliyah was offered the titular role in Queen of the Damned, a movie based on the Anne Rice novel. Aaliyah would play Akasha, a powerful and ancient vampire queen who awakens in the modern world, struggling with her immortality and dark past while facing enemies that threaten her reign. Aaliyah had always been fascinated by vampires, so she was thrilled to join the movie. She had read all of Anne Rice's novels before filming began. Sadly, Queen of the Damned would be her final movie. While she completed all of her main scenes, her brother Rashad later stepped in to record a few lines she hadn't been able to finish. Sound engineers then used ADR to blend his voice with hers, adding a haunting, supernatural quality.
My king, behold our kingdom.
Aaliyah began recording her self-titled third album in March 2000, and it took her a full year to complete her tracks. Timbaland later expressed that Virgin Records had rushed the process, and the album didn't have the same level of production as her previous work. Nevertheless, the album was released in July 2001. Tragically, Aaliyah never got to see just how much people came to love it. Apart from her own hit singles and albums, Aaliyah had many film songs that were huge hits in their own right. She sang Journey to the Past in Anastasia, which received an Oscar nomination. It lost to My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, but Aaliyah performed her song at the 1998 Oscar ceremony. At 19, she was the youngest person ever to do so.
One step at a time, one hope, then another.
Aaliyah had always been close to her grandmother. She had a dove tattooed on her lower back as a tribute to her, and her most prized possession was a stuffed orangutan, Lena, that her grandmother had given her when she was a little girl. Despite her traumatic early relationship with R. Kelly, Aaliyah eventually got back into dating. She allegedly had a relationship with Jay-Z before starting to date Damon Dash. Aaliyah met Damon Dash, co-founder of Rockefeller Records, through his accountant. Dash recalled how they just clicked. He felt they were very similar and understood each other completely. Though Aaliyah hadn't announced anything other than a platonic relationship with Dash, she hosted his 30th birthday party and flew to visit him just 2 weeks before her passing. But the story gets even more heartbreaking. After her passing, Damon Dash revealed that he'd planned to marry Aaliyah. Though he hadn't formally proposed to her yet, her close friend Kadada Jones has said that even though Aaliyah and Dash had only dated for a year, Aaliyah was ready to settle down and have kids with him. It's no wonder Dash was left devastated after her passing. In August 2001, Aaliyah was making a video for her song Rock the Boat in Miami. She'd already filmed some of the underwater scenes when she boarded a plane with her crew to Abaco Island in the Bahamas to continue the shoot. Did she have an inkling of what might happen? Maybe not. But Dash does admit that she'd been apprehensive about taking this particular flight. Usually, Aaliyah traveled with at least one of her family members. However, this time, none of her family members had been able to accompany her to this shoot. This had never happened before. The director of the Rock the Boat video said that the entire crew had a wonderful time on the island, filming and relaxing in the tropical setting. Aaliyah wrapped up her scenes a day early, so she decided to leave the island with several members of her crew. No one could have predicted the disaster that was about to happen. Aaliyah boarded a 10-seat twin-engine Cessna 402B with 7 members of her team. Tragically, the plane crashed shortly after takeoff, just a few hundred feet from the runway. There were no survivors. Aaliyah was among those who passed away at the scene, while others succumbed to their injuries a few hours later. It was a catastrophe, but it didn't have to be. Aaliyah's funeral was a private affair with only her family and close friends. But her fans all over the world mourned her passing. Posters of her in New York City and Detroit became makeshift shrines, with fans bringing flowers and gifts to honor the singer. Her family released 22 white doves at her funeral, one for each year of her life. Her crypt bears the inscription, "Baby Girl." Rock the Boat came out in October 2001, after Aaliyah's tragic death. With its dreamlike visuals and graceful choreography, the video captured the singer's effortless elegance and star power. Because of her passing, it took on a deeper emotional meaning for fans and became a symbol of her legacy. The movie Queen of the Damned came out after her passing. But there was something else that few fans knew. Aaliyah actually began principal photography for The Matrix sequel, but she hadn't completed many scenes. Had she lived, she would have starred in both Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions. Barry Hankerson was heartbroken after Aaliyah passed away. Blackground Records and all it stood for went under. And artists like Timbaland and Toni Braxton sued the label for mismanagement. Since Blackground had the rights to Aaliyah's music, Hankerson initially refused to release her music to streaming services. Thankfully, her estate announced that the singer's music will be available for streaming. Very little was publicly known about Aaliyah's brief and secret marriage to R. Kelly during her lifetime. However, after her passing, more information gradually came to light.
For exclusive perks like early access to new videos, priority replies to your comments, and to have your say on future content, consider becoming a Factinate member. On top of that, your support helps keep the channel going. Click the link in the description for more details.
In 2001, Kelly's former associate Demetrius Smith shared that in 1995, Kelly had expressed concerns that Aaliyah might be pregnant. According to Smith, this led to the falsification of documents in order to facilitate a secret marriage in Rosemont, Illinois, without her family's knowledge. In the years since, a broader pattern of troubling behavior involving underage girls has come to define much of the public's understanding of R. Kelly's actions. Tragic incidents like the plane crash that took Aaliyah's life often leave behind deep regrets and many unanswered questions. How did this happen? Who was responsible? In this case, it became clear that serious negligence by the plane company, Black Hawk International Airways Corporation, played a significant role. The plane was overloaded, and that was only part of the problem. The pilot, Luis Morales, was not certified to fly at the time, having been placed on probation just 2 weeks before the flight. The reason for his suspension was concerning. He had been found in possession of prohibited substances. The coroner's report later revealed traces of alcohol and other substances in his system. While he may have disregarded his own safety, putting others at risk is unacceptable. Following the tragedy, Aaliyah's family filed lawsuits against Virgin Records and Black Hawk Airways for their roles in the crash. The case lasted for a year before being settled out of court. Though justice was sought, nothing could bring Aaliyah back. Aaliyah's life was short, but powerful. She had huge talent and worked hard from a young age. Despite some tough times, she kept pushing forward. Though she only lived for 22 years, she lived her life doing what she loved most. She once said, "Everything is worth it, because it really makes me happy. I thank God for his blessings every chance I get." If you enjoyed this Factinate video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible stories. Want a say in who we cover next? Join our membership program through the link in the description for exclusive perks. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.